Welcome to the Friday Matinee here on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. I am T.
I'm George.
George, what a fun Friday. I love fun Fridays.
It's Fun Friday. Well, we rarely have unfun Fridays.
That's
to be
true.
Clear. But, we're talking about someone who's kind of new in the business. I mean, Matt's been around a while, and looking at the idea of how they do things nowadays. But then how do you get from there to where you actually are in the industry and actually either producing things or working in the studios. And here with us, our second guest. We've known him for a few years now, Tom Smith. Welcome to the Friday Matinee. Make sure I have the right show.
The right show.
Well, thanks for having me.
But we want to talk about this. And first off the air, you mentioned you had been a DJ. Where were you a disc jockey?
That was in college. KMFA Radio. Rolla, Missouri.
Missouri.
Yes. So
show me.
That's easy now.
Absolutely.
This is radio. It might be a little difficult. But Tom, this is fascinating. And like I said, we've known each other for a while. You have your finger in a few different areas of the motion picture industry. And for example, I know you've done a lot of ADing for many.
I've been an AD since '85.
And we're talking about at the studios with
Yes.
network shows and everything else.
Primarily television, but some film.
But tell me, so you started out in Missouri. How did you end up in beautiful Southern California?
Well, I was a bank examiner for the state of Missouri, and on my 26th birthday,
That's enough of that.
Birthdays are, they kind of move you a little bit.
Yes.
And I'm like,
I don't want to do
of course,
this.
I was into film. I was into all this storytelling. And on my 26th birthday, I said, man, I'm going to wake up 40 years old and wished I'd have
done
tried.
something I wanted to do.
So I turned 27 hitchhiking to L.A.
Wow. Took you a year? No.
Well, I had to keep working for a little while.
But you hitchhiked to L.A.
Well, I wasn't sure my car could do a rounder if I didn't find a way to stay. So I caught a westbound truck, landed in L.A. March 1st of '82, found a job, hitchhiked back, got my car, came back out.
Okay, what was the first job you got when you came to L.A.?
Selling cable television subscriptions door to door.
You know what? That's close to television. That's a good start.
You're in the industry.
You're in
There
the
it
industry. I work in television. Okay, so went home, got your car, came back.
Right. Well, interesting with the cable TV is the neighborhoods I'm marketing were full of industry people.
Nice. Networking.
So I got lots of pointers on what I should and should not do. But
oh my gosh, what a great education! You're doing stuff and cable whatever, and you're in their home and you're picking their brain. Brilliant man.
And I got on my first project May 1st of that year. So 2 months after I got here.
And what was that?
It was an AFI film. I spent 6 weeks out in 29 Palms, and that truly was film school boot camp for me.
Was it
I have
summer?
a business degree.
What time of year was this?
I got out there May 1st and came back mid-June.
Okay, 29 Palms. And that didn't kick you out. That didn't change your mind, even though, because truly boot camp in the desert,
Well, I had the opportunity. I mean, when I went in, I have no experience, right? I land in town. I got no film experience,
But everyone tells you if they ask you if you can do
I'm getting
it.
lots of advice, and one of it was look at the trades. Well, the only job I ever got out of a trade magazine was my first job. So I go to the AFI, and I have this interview, and I'm sitting outside waiting to go in. And this guy runs in to talk to the producer, and he tells her, he goes, I got us a big truck. They needed a truck to haul stuff. And then I heard the question, do we have anybody who can drive it? Well, I drove 18-wheeler or some. So when I went in, before I sat down, I shook hands and said, I can drive a big truck. I'm not leaving till you hire me.
Oh.
Wow.
So she hired me right then, and then we discussed what I was going to be doing.
In Hollywood, that's chutzpah. You got to have a little chutzpah, and that's what that was. Yeah, you're hiring me. All right, so this was, you got your education, you kept your ears open, kept your eye on the prize, and I'm doing this, and you're not telling me no. That's good advice right there.
Well, I spent that first year selling cable TV now and then and working for free. But the people I met on the very first show gave me my first paid job.
Nice.
So I kept that line of communications open.
I think that's really important, especially in this industry. A lot of people don't necessarily realize that. I mean, they want to walk off the bus from Farmington, New Mexico, and instantly into a guest starring role or something. They think, and they'll dismiss the idea that maybe you need to get some experience or be able to do things or get in there and either volunteer.
You got to be in the trenches, man. You got to be in the trenches.
A lot of those people are the ones who get back on that bus and go home.
Go right back home.
That's true.
Bank examining.
When I was in school at University of Missouri, I dropped out of engineering school. So now I'm taking whatever I want. I don't have a major. And I'm taking this art history in the cinema class. And the teacher had written this book, and I was talking with him about my interest. And he goes, well, I'm not supposed to say this, but if it was me, I'd quit school and just go to L.A. because whether you have a degree or not, you're going to have to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Good man. And it is the truth.
So I remembered that.
And it drives me crazy. I have to tell you, I know a ton of kids that come out of film school and they're going to be the next, Kubrick. And it's like, you're going to be the next Coffee Kid. You need to get on set. You need to get, you have to be that person willing to work from the ground up. And that's when people look at you and say, you know what? You're a hard worker, great work ethic, and you're creative, and you're having conversation, and they start plugging you into other places. So what are you doing now? What are the things you're
primarily work as an assistant director and mostly in television. So I've been freelancing since the day I got here. I've never had a regular job.
But that's worked out okay for you.
It's worked out. My brother worked for one company his whole career, and I go in and interview for a job that I know when it's going to end, basically.
Yeah, every single time. Yeah. You have to be project oriented. That's the other thing is if you're looking for that safety net or, that's not how this works. You go from project to project. And so far, between bank examining, which I don't even know what that is, bank examiner. Do you look at the buildings?
You know what a moonshine revenuer is? I was a bank revenuer.
Yeah, I don't know what either one of those.
So you're just making sure that people are doing the right things. At the right time.
I see.
Protecting your money.
Yeah, the only time I've ever I mean, It's a Wonderful Life. The guy Charles Lane played the bank examiner. That's it.
Okay, now I have a reference
Venerable
point.
character actor. So, interestingly enough, so you got your start in the '80s. Totally different realm of reality.
Very much so.
But you've also done some of your own productions, right?
I had a video production company for a short while, and I found myself in the world of helping and working with nonprofits. Well, they call them nonprofits for a reason. So,
yeah.
I reached the point where I can't afford to keep doing that.
Yeah, that's
Can't
true.
get ramen noodles even on nonprofit money.
Exactly.
Wait, no nonprofit is no money. No, just call it what it is. Yeah, that's hard to do that. So that was...
I enjoyed it. I won a communicator award with one of the projects I did.
Oh, that's nice.
Looks good on a resume,
right?
but that's about it.
And on the mantle. And then it's like, all right, what's the next thing? Yeah.
I have that. I also have a Directors Guild award. So
there you go.
Oh, that's a nice thing to write home about.
I always get eyebrows on this one. Because they'll say, what'd you get it for?
Okay, what'd you get it for?
The Positively True Adventures of the Alleged Texas Cheerleader Murdering Mom.
Oh,
wow.
You know what?
Was that a movie of the week or something like that? Or was
that was an HBO movie.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Holly
say it again.
Hunter,
Say it again.
Bo Bridges.
Say it again.
The Positively True Adventures of the Alleged Texas Cheerleader Murdering Mom.
I'm so looking that up. I have to watch that now. That's, you know what? What category did you win? What was that for?
TV movies.
I was going to say, what does that even show up as?
Well, when we talk about an AD, which stands for Assistant Director, by the way, as far as I know, what does your workday involve aside from long hours?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the first part is prepping as the first AD. And prepping means taking the script, you break it down into its scenes, and then the elements within each of those scenes. And so my job is to make sure that I understand the director's vision for what, the story he wants to tell, and then determine through the different departments what we need for each of those scenes. And then you schedule a shoot, because you don't shoot scene one and then scene two.
Out of sequence, yeah.
Right. You shoot all of the radio station scenes.
Right.
And that may be day 1 of the story and day 27 of the story. And so now you have to schedule your actors. You have to schedule equipment.
So there's a lot of organization.
I don't have to do a lot. I don't have to do the actual calling on and all that. We have a production office that deals with it, but they need my schedule to know when.
A lot of hours bent over desks and notepads. I always say AD stands for aversion to daylight. Don't even pretend you like it, because you're going to be in a building, in
yes,
front of a computer.
But we have a better tan than the editor.
Yeah.
That's true. Now,
way better tan than the editor.
Did you work your way up? So do you have to do like background wrangling on your way up to where you're at today?
Oh, yes. A lot of that.
That's a lot of collecting vouchers and making sure people aren't stealing too much of the
craft
services and
craft services is the snack table.
No, sir. Walk this way. Walk this way.
Table.
Yeah. So, but that's fascinating. No, I'm curious to know if this were Tom Smith, age 26, 27 in 2016. Would you still consider driving out or hitchhiking? Well, maybe not hitchhiking, but coming out from Missouri and giving it a shot?
If I knew what I know now. Knowing what I know now, I realize how insane it was that I did what I did.
And you got kind of lucky in a way, but you also...
But driven. You were driven.
I think I had a guardian angel who directed me very much where I needed to go. I mean, after the first year, literally when I landed, I didn't know anybody. But
and that's
on the
amazing.
road, I talked to my mom, and I'd gotten a birthday card from a college buddy, just touching base, that I hadn't talked to probably in almost 10 years. He lived in Downey.
Oh, so you knew somebody.
So I called him, and now I crashed on his couch when I landed
so
here.
Tom, what do you think drove you to do this? Because I think everybody has that different factor, from next job to the next. It could be rent that drives you. It could be, I do not want to go back home to the life I think I would have, or I really want that next project, or I'm driven because the creative elements of it. What do you think were some of the driving factors to keep you here all these years to do what you did?
Well, first off, I like what I do.
Oh, that's a good reason right there.
I'm a people person, and so in the film industry, you're dealing with different people every day.
Every day.
And you're in different places every day. You're not going to the same office every day. But from the time I was like 11, I wanted to be an engineer. And then I went off to engineering school. And 2.5 years into engineering school, I realized I don't want to hang out with engineers the rest of the time. 2 plus 2 is always 4. It was just boring.
Yeah.
You
need a little
had
more.
always written when I was young. In fact, I got punished, so to speak. In the second grade, we had to... What do you read in the second grade? I don't know, but
Dick and Jane books
you read
or
little
whatever
books,
back
right?
then, yeah.
And so the
Spot
teacher would say, "Oh, you have to
ball.
read, and then you have to stand at the front of the class and tell about the book." And I'm sure she's just interactive thing, right? I didn't read a book. I made up a story.
And you got in trouble
she
for
liked my story and wanted my book, and I couldn't produce a book, so I got in trouble.
I'm an unpublished author, Mrs. Jones.
You know what? Some of my favorite stories are people who come back and say, "Oh, when I was a kid, I got in trouble for blah, blah, blah." And then that's the very thing that makes them such a fascinating or interesting or rich personality. So I sometimes think that, the class clowns, how many times have we interviewed a comedian or someone who's, I got in trouble because I was that guy holding court. Yet some of the most interesting people you want to hang out with. So that's a good...
But it's interesting you say knowing what you know now, but that's the whole, I think, idea of kind of the unknown and being fearless and just trying it. What worse could happen? You could hitchhike back home and got back your bank examiner job again, right?
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's 34 years ago, but I literally can remember hitchhiking back home. When you're hitchhiking, you're riding with somebody.
I would know nothing of this except what I've seen in the films, but I'm going to take your word for it.
I did it some in college, since my mom's not listening. But you're riding with somebody. So I get home. Of course, on the way back, the truck I was in was totaled. We had a wreck in the Ozark Mountains and totaled the truck. So I ended up with some scars. I was my guardian angel, again, protected me. But
You said you had experience driving 18-wheelers. Was that
I wasn't
you?
driving at the time. No.
Maybe you should
okay.
have.
But now I turn around and I'm returning, and it's like 36-hour drive, and of course I'm going straight through. And New Mexico and Arizona, you blink or you fall asleep and wake up, you don't know if you were asleep for 2 seconds or
It
2
all looks
hours,
the same. It's like driving
all
through
the same.
Texas.
And everything's just inky black, and you kind of start thinking, okay, am I doing the right thing? It's like I'm
you
literally
question
going
yourself
into
in
the
the dark of
unknown.
night, yeah.
But, I just forged ahead, and many ways I'm lucky. I mean, the day that I left, because I knew I had a truck I knew was leaving when I first started out. My dad came up and woke me up. He dry cleaners, and I grew up working with him, and very close. He came up, he woke me up, and it's like, well, I guess you're leaving today, and talking, hey, if it doesn't work out, you can call. We'll buy you a ticket. He never said the words "I love you," but the whole conversation said that,
right.
So it's kind of like I can't lose,
Yeah.
That's right.
I can only win.
Give it a shot. And I think that's interesting. And you've also dabbled in some other things. I know, like finding if you have a unique automobile that might be of good use in a film. Because if you're not an actor, there are other things that you might have if you want to be in the film industry, like your awesome motorcycle, your awesome truck, your awesome classic car, things that are things. Now, I don't know if you're still dabbling in that or not.
Right now, I'm restructuring the company. Film Resource Marketing is what I call it. My degree was in marketing. So, of course, that was in the 80s, 70s. So even marketing is not the same today.
No,
That's very
sure
true.
Isn't. That whole digital platform.
But the whole idea that you're out there and understanding and getting it, so that, like you say, resources. What else is there that people need, and making connections between people who have something.
There's so many, from soup
who...
to nuts. There's so many things involved in production.
Well,
it's
there's
incredible.
locations, there's vehicles, and when you get away from LA, and I've shot in the boonies, and I've gone into a town back, going 20 years ago, before the internet. You go into a town, you need background, you need people with cars, maybe you need
people.
You might need somebody that has a tractor. You might need, something off the wall. We go out and hit the churches and the nonprofit groups and say, hey, can you reach out to your people? We'd set up a motel room. People would come in. If they're looking for extras, we'd take their picture. They'd fill out a little sheet, and we'd build a book that we could use to pick from. So what I'm doing is the same idea, only it's on the internet.
Digital.
And, because, it's valuable here, but there are also a lot more opportunities and other services available to us within the industry, within town. But when you start moving out, you don't have to go somewhere and it's a blank page when you get there.
When we talk about now in the mid '80s, there was starting to maybe do some other productions out like in Canada stuff. But what's it been like with the spread of the film industry? Louisiana has become a big major film hub now. Of course, Canada has taken a lot of stuff.
And
but
Georgia.
And what has that done to the industry here in LA?
Well, we're starting to see some come back thanks to the tax incentives that just, I guess, started up within this year.
Couple of years,
yeah.
Good.
But
I remember when the bill went.
I can remember in the early '90s doing pilot, knowing I wouldn't do the show if it got picked up because they're going to go to Canada.
Yeah.
And having other shows the same thing, that, we're going to go there. And I was at Warner Brothers doing shows and was with the vice president having a discussion of TV. And he talked about the fact that at that time, early 90s, they had the tax incentive there, and the Canadian dollar was like $1.65 to the American dollar. And a grip cost $18 an hour, we'll say, here or there. But 18 Canadians less than 18 U.S. So, he says, hey, I was doing a show, and he was talking about the struggles that, we can do $1 million show for $600,000 there. And when you're doing 22 episodes times $300,000, that's a lot of savings when you're borrowing money to make those shows.
That's true.
Makes it tough.
What advice would you give anybody who may be wanting to come out from Missouri or New Mexico or Utah or the Ozarks or something that wants to come out here and break into the business? Is there anything one thing you would tell them?
Don't hitchhike.
Know that that's what you want to do, because if you're going to be easily disappointed, then you're just driving down a dead-end road that you're going to have to turn around and go back the other way, and you've just lost time somewhere else. But know what it is you want to do and be committed to it.
Outstanding. Tom Smith, website?
As an AD, SmittyFilms.com.
That's it.
And the resource site is filmatUSA.com.
There it is. Thanks so much for stopping out, my friend. Always a pleasure to talk to you, whether it's live on the air or over a cup of coffee somewhere. So it was good to chit-chat with you. Thanks for stopping by. This is a Friday Matinee. T and I will be back with a final wrap-up after this. Welcome back to the Friday Matinee on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm George.
I'm T.
So this is fascinating. So we have someone who's relatively young and had taken a certain direction toward making her mark in the world with Madison Brunailer, Maddie to the max. And then we have Tom, who's been in the business for over 30 years, and kind of a juxtaposition of the two and their approach to it.
And yet the love of
Right.
what they do. There's no denying both personalities really love what they do.
Both really jumping in with feet first.
Absolutely.
To make it happen.
You know, and it's fun for me now to interview people who, as Tom said, he started at a particular time in the 80s when, as you were telling Maddie, you could do videos, but you know, you'd pay it through the nose and you'd have to rent sometimes the video machine if you didn't have the camera.
Yeah.
And now anybody with an iPhone, I did a project for the Tate Gallery in London, and it was all shot on Apple products. And it was this great big thing showing that art can come from anywhere, and really anyone with can do today. It's unbelievable what can be made, but boy, does it separate the true creative people from people who just, I want to be famous and I'm going to do selfies.
I say chase the dream instead of follow the dream. Andrew, you mentioned about promos down the street, Candy Theater Guild. John Lusowicz, who works there, and he's been on the show here. He shot a little promo. Taylor Bass, who plays Peter Pan, dressed up in her costume. They did a little thing where she lands. She's at the Candy Theater Guild, and she's kind of quote unquote flying up to look for Tinkerbell, and she ends up in the stage. And I saw it, and it was amazing. And I said, "What did you use to shoot that?" And he has a Samsung Galaxy, and he edited with Adobe Premiere.
Isn't it
and
amazing?
It was a fantastic little 2-minute promo. And that's the thing I meant to mention too. I didn't get the chance to talk or mention it with Maddie. All of her, there is not any video whatsoever that's more than 5 minutes long. Most of them are about 2.5 to 3 minutes. Easily digestible and so entertaining.
It's so watchable, and that's the fun part. Is that as long as you're making good stuff, we'll watch.
So. This was a fun hour. They're always fun hours, but this is especially fun, especially getting a juxtaposition from two different points of view on the film industry. This has been the Friday Matinee on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Stick around for My Conscious Tao with Alex and Jasmine Urbina coming up next. Have a great week.